All right, so for this question, where we want to start is with our given information. Okay, and for our givens, I see that we have the mass is 2.7 kilograms. I see that the initial speed, V initial, is 10.25 meters per second. Okay, and I want to figure out what is the maximum height. Okay, and that would be my unknown. I'm being asked to neglect friction. That's just like bonus information. And what that kind of clues us in, if I draw this picture here, what we see is that the object is going to be traveling upwards. Okay, and the whole time it's moving upwards, it's going to be slowing down because of gravity, because of the acceleration due to gravity. That is 9.81 meters per second squared. And so what we need to figure out is, okay, I have an initial velocity. I'm trying to figure out how far I'm going. I know an acceleration, and well, how fast am I going at the very top? Like, what is special about the very top of its motion? Okay, and it turns out what we know is that that object is going to be moving upwards, and when it reaches its highest motion, it's eventually then going to turn around and start falling back down again. Well, if I drew that as a graph where I have V versus T, I start at some velocity, right? In this case, 10.25. And as I make my way up, it eventually will have to start falling in the opposite direction, which means that its velocity would then be negative. And it turns out that there's a straight line that connects these velocities. And I might ask myself, well, what is the special thing that's happening right there? Well, this spot corresponds to this location of the object. And at this time, the velocity is equal to 0. So I can use this other velocity saying V final equals 0 meters per second, because that's going to correspond to the spot where the object is at its highest point. So now I would search through my equations and I'd see V final squared equals V initial squared plus 2AD. In this case, D is representing that maximum height. Okay? My initial velocity is the 10.25. My final velocity is 0. We specifically chose a number that would make that happen. So I have that this is equal to 0. And then I can solve this for D. I get D equals V initial squared all over 2A, which I can then plug in my numbers, 10.25 meters per second, square the whole thing, 2 times 9.81 meters per second squared. Okay, and I would go through and I would complete the math. So let's get ourselves out a calculator. So I've got 10.25 meters per second divided by 2 times 9.81 meters per second squared. And I get my answer of 5.355 meters. And in this case, that would be that first answer choice.